Before the college entrance exams, I desperately held Jeong-sung back, preventing him from joining the police to rescue his childhood sweetheart who'd been kidnapped. He eventually completed his exams and was admitted to a top-tier university, but due to the delayed rescue, though his childhood love survived, both her hands were shattered. She could never hold a paintbrush again. Years later during my pregnancy, I caught him cheating in our bed. He just smirked. "This is what you owe me and Sushin." He refused to divorce me, instead imprisoning me and breaking my limbs. He even let Soo Exeon slice my skin open for amusement. Their torture caused me to miscarry, and I died without a whisper. Reborn into this life, I watched Jeong-sung desperately insisting on joining the police rescue mission. I resolutely chose to let go. When I opened my eyes again, I was back during the college entrance exams. Chaos unfolded before my eyes as Jeong-sung lunged at the police like a madman. "You found Xiaoxin, haven't you? I'm coming to save her too. She can't survive without me." My head spun as the staggering realization hit me. I'd actually traveled back 10 years in time. Who could have imagined this red-eyed boy before me would, a decade later, methodically carve into my flesh while smiling at the blood pooling beneath me, our child slipping away. Jeong-sung's mother couldn't restrain him, twisting around desperately to call for me. "Xiaoyu, help me talk sense into him. You're the only one he'll listen to." Jeong-sung kept stealing glances at me, as if waiting for me to stop him. With just an hour left before the college entrance exam, I ignored the commotion around me and focused on organizing my stationery and admission ticket. "Aunt Jeong, if Jeong-sung wants to go, let him. Why stop him? It's a matter of life and death. As for the exam, he can always retake it next year." Jeong's mother froze momentarily. Jeong-sung seemed caught off guard by my words, freezing mid-motion for several seconds, but moments later, he gritted his teeth and went completely berserk. 3 grown men couldn't restrain him. "Let me save Soo Exeon. I have to save her." I watched coldly, sneering inwardly. Jeong-sung and Soo Exeon were childhood sweethearts. While I only met Jeong-sung in high school, we'd promised to take Tsinghua's entrance exams together, but Soo Exeon was kidnapped right before Gaokao. After police pinpointed Soo Exeon's location, they prepared a rescue operation. He went berserk trying to join the rescue. I had to physically restrain him to make sure he completed Gaokao. Soo Exeon was eventually rescued, but both her hands were fractured. Even after recovery, her hands remained permanently weakened. As an art student, she could never hold a paintbrush again. Little did I know, Jeong-sung would blame me entirely, harboring deep resentment toward me. He believes if I hadn't stopped him, they could have rescued Soo Exeon earlier, and she wouldn't have suffered broken arms. Even after marrying me, he never truly let go of Soo Exeon in his heart. The better my life became, the more it highlighted Soo Exeon's misery, making him increasingly convinced I owed her. I never discovered their affair, mistaking his kindness towards Soo Exeon as mere guilt. Who would have thought they'd been tangled up together all along? They even jointly imprisoned me in the basement and tortured me to death. I died silently in that icy, pitch-black room, only to open my eyes and find myself back on the day of my college entrance exams at 18. I packed my things and walked out immediately. Jeong's mother tried to stop me, but couldn't get hold of Jeong-sung. Caught between a rock and a hard place, they could only watch helplessly as I left. Arriving at the exam hall, I took a deep breath to steady myself and focused entirely on the test paper before me. Thankfully, though a decade had passed, my mind hadn't deteriorated. I could solve most of the problems. With the cheat codes from my rebirth, I managed to answer even more questions than in my previous life. After finishing the exam, I returned to the hotel. Soo Exeon had been rescued with both hands intact. However, Jeong-sung had both his hands and one leg broken. I frowned slightly. That can't be right. In my past life, Soo Exeon did lose both her hands, but those weren't injuries inflicted by kidnappers. She smashed them herself. This was what Soo Exeon triumphantly revealed while carving my flesh with a knife. Those so-called kidnappers, just actors she hired for the show. She'd had a crush on Jeong-sung since childhood, but fearing her poor grades would drive him to Tsinghua University with me and leave her behind, she staged an elaborate scheme. She manipulated Jeong-sung into rescuing her, sabotaging his college entrance exam to keep him by her side. Little did she expect me to crash her plans. I dragged Jeong-sung to take the exam, leaving only the police to answer her distress call. When her plan failed, she deliberately broke her own hands just to chain herself to Jeong-sung's side. I still remember in our past lives, how she woke up in the hospital and threw herself into Jeong-sung's arms, sobbing uncontrollably. "Brother Song, why didn't you come save me? Why, they smashed my hands. What am I supposed to do now? I'll never paint again, sobs. She never even noticed the venomous glare Jeong Song secretly shot my way. In her past life, Soo Exeon never even attended college, so decent jobs were naturally out of reach. Plagued by guilt, Jeong Song treated Soo Exeon even better, so much so that he took her along when he went to university. Whenever I got upset, he'd shut me down by bringing up what happened during the college entrance exams. If I hadn't gone with you to take the Gaokao that year, Xiao Exeon wouldn't have broken her hand. This is what we owe her. I wanted to argue, but even Mother Jiang started persuading me. Just think of it as gaining a younger sister. Xiaoxin and Jiang Song were practically raised as siblings anyway. Eventually, those siblings ended up sleeping together. After being locked up, I finally understood why Mrs. Jiang's attitude had changed, because at that time, Soo Exeon was already pregnant with Jiang Song's child. The doctor swore it was definitely a boy, but in truth, even those so-called hand injuries were faked. In our past life, when Soo Exeon gripped that knife slicing through my skin, the sheer force she exerted showed no sign of feeble hands. Her hands had long regained strength. She'd merely been feigning weakness, pretending to struggle holding a pen. 3. Jiang's mother nearly fainted on the spot, her eyes rolling back at the sight of Jiang Song drenched in blood, yet she rallied with startling vigor, lunging at Soo Exeon's face in a frenzy of punches and slaps. It's all your fault. My son ended up like this because of you, you vile creature. Soo Exeon's wails and shrieks echoed through the hospital room. Officers rushed forward to pull Jiang's mother away as I pieced together fragments of the story. Turns out Jiang Song had acted recklessly, ignoring police instructions and barging into the kidnapper's hideout alone. Ended up getting his limbs broken. Jiang Song woke from unconsciousness and screamed in horror at the sight of his heavily bandaged leg. He only stopped screaming when told his leg would heal without permanent disability. What the doctor didn't mention was that he'd still walk with a limp afterward. 4. I took a step back, watching their farcical drama unfold with amusement. Mrs. Jiang no longer treated Soo Exeon as family, lunging at her face like a madwoman. This is all your fault, you wretched bitch. My son's arm is broken, he'll be crippled for life. Now he can't even take his exams, all because of you. Soo Exeon averted her gaze, covering her face as she sobbed uncontrollably. Auntie, I'm heartbroken about Brother Song's injuries too. Even if he never recovers, I'd gladly care for him my whole life. Bah, who needs your care? You jinx, you're the one who ruined my son. Jiang Song struggled to sit up, persistently trying to mediate. Mom, how can you blame Xiaoxin? Those kidnappers were the cruel ones. Better my hand gets broken than Xiaoxin's. She's going to be an artist. It's not like this injury won't heal. So what if I limp? Just means I'll walk slower. Brother Song. Soo Exeon looked moved as she locked eyes with Jiang Song. I kept rolling my eyes at this scene. How did I miss this in my past life? Their affair was so obvious. Probably because Soo Exeon was always clinging to Jiang Song's arm with that fake smile. Xiao Jia. If there was really something between Jiang Song and me, how could you have ended up with him? Relax, we're just childhood friends. And then, well, they ended up in bed together. To this day I still don't get why they had to pretend to be just childhood friends when they clearly liked each other, dragging others into their mess. Were they just getting off on the thrill of crossing moral boundaries? At least in this lifetime, Jiang Song and Soo Exeon are stuck with each other for good. 5. Jiang's mother wept bitterly before turning to look at me. Her eyes brimmed with hope as she clutched my hand tightly. Xiaoyu, you'll take care of Jiang Song for me, won't you? You two are so close. Actually, you should marry him after college. I give you my blessing. Soo Exeon immediately shot us a venomous glare. I lowered my gaze and gently brushed her hand away, murmuring, Auntie, I'm only 18, too young to marry. I need to go home and study for tomorrow's exam. With that, I walked out of the hospital room without looking back. The moment I stepped outside, Jiang Song's nonchalant voice carried through the door. Mom, don't blame Xiaoxin. What matters is we got her out safely. It's not like I'm disabled. Worst case, I'll retake senior year. I'm smart enough to get into Tsinghua anyway. Honestly, if he maintains this level of performance throughout the year, getting into a top-tier university next year would be a piece of cake. But that's assuming Soo Exeon behaves herself and doesn't stir up any trouble. 6. The college entrance exams ended abruptly, leaving me utterly exhausted. As I was resting in my hotel room, someone started pounding violently on the door. When I opened it, there stood Jiang's mother. She barged toward my room lugging all her bags. I instantly blocked the doorway. pressing firmly against the door. "What's up?" Unable to enter. She kept shoving while glaring daggers at me. "Xiaosong still hospitalized. Someone needs to care for him. Go renew your room at reception so I can move in. We'll take shifts watching him and save on an extra room." During the college entrance exams, both Jiang Song and I stayed at hotels, booking just 3 nights each. I frowned. Why should I take care of him when he's hurt? Shouldn't that be Su Xian's job? Jiang's mother glared at me. "You're his girlfriend. Isn't it your duty to look after him? Besides, if you hadn't failed to stop Xiaosong back then, you were there too. If even you couldn't restrain your own son, how could I, someone unrelated, possibly have stopped him? I've got summer jobs lined up. No time to babysit him. The room rental expires today. Want to stay? Pay the extension yourself. I'm broke." Jiang's mother raised her voice abruptly, drawing curious glances from passing janitors. "Your family's loaded and you're still working. Isn't Xiaosong's health more important than money right now?" My face hardened. "Exactly. If your son's limbs matter more than cash, why fuss over rent? I'm leaving anyway. Move in if you don't mind security dragging you out." With that, I released my hold on the door, sending Jiang's mother stumbling headlong into the room. Ignoring her, I packed my bags and prepared to leave. At first, Jiang's mother kept wailing dramatically while leaning awkwardly against the wall. Seeing I truly meant to abandon her, she scrambled up, grabbed her bundle, chased after me, and clung stubbornly to my arm. "Where do you think you're going? You're Jiang Song's girlfriend. He's hospitalized. It's your duty to take care of him. Come with me." With that, she tried to drag me out. I snapped too, shoving her to the ground without restraint. "Since when was I Jiang Song's girlfriend? Didn't you forbid us from dating? We're just classmates. I'm neither his mother nor his wife. And he didn't get hurt saving me. Why the hell should I take care of him?" That's right, even in my past life, I had feelings for Jiang Song. But his mother wouldn't allow us to be together. She looked down her nose at me, saying her precious Xiaosong was destined for Tsinghua or Peking University. No childish romance could interfere with his studies. Being with Jiang Song was only possible after he got into university. Before the college entrance exams, the most I could be was his friend. She carried herself with such condescension, as if bestowing some grand favor upon me. Even though his family was just average, Jiang's mother still looked down on me. She believed Jiang Song achieved everything through his own efforts. No tutoring, no extracurriculars. Getting into Tsinghua was purely his own doing. Broke now, but definitely husband material with great potential. Meanwhile, I just won the genetic lottery. She thought, with Jiang Song's credentials from Tsinghua or Peking University. What kind of girl couldn't he land? In the end, Jiang Song still married me, yet she acted like I'd married above my station into the Jiang family. Mrs. Jiang's face froze in shock. She never expected someone like me, who'd been devoted to Jiang Song all along, to say such words. After a long pause, she hissed through clenched teeth, "Fine, if you won't take care of Xiaosong, don't come crying later." 7. I knew exactly what Mrs. Jiang was plotting, thinking she could get under my skin. She dragged Su Xian over to take care of Jiang Song. I'd love nothing more than seeing those two cling to each other every day. Better yet, get married right now. But that's not enough. Blood debts must be paid in blood. Since Su Xian and Jiang Song love playing victims so much, let's make sure they end up truly desperate for life. When my parents were out, I called Jiang Song from our landline, putting on an act like I was in a tough spot. "Jiang Song, my parents found out about you. They won't let me visit you and have grounded me at home." Jiang Song comforted me. "Don't worry, Xiaoyu, my mom's here with me. Just hang tight. I'll test into your school next year." I absent-mindedly twirled the phone cord around my finger, feeling nauseated just hearing his voice. Putting on an intentionally hesitant tone, I said cautiously, "But Aunt Jiang seems upset." I tried explaining, but she wouldn't listen. What should I do? Does she dislike me again? Don't be silly, you're overthinking it, Xiaoyu. Just relax at home. I've got my mom here handling things. You've got nothing to worry about. I bit my lip. Is Suxin there with you too, Xiaoyu? You're not getting jealous again, are you? I really just see little Xian as a sister. But you skipped your college entrance exams just to save her, and got yourself hurt. Jiang Song's voice grew impatient. I've told you I only see her as a little sister. Stop overthinking it. I'd do the same if my actual sister got kidnapped. Enough. I'm hanging up now before your parents hear. Before I could respond, the dial tone cut through the receiver. Knowing I can't make it, Jiang Song must be having the time of his life right now, with Su Xian by his side all day, and absolutely no chance of me catching them. I let out a bitter chuckle. Jeong Song. You and Soo Exeon deserve each other forever, dragged into the mire by her, never to rise again. 8. When the admission letter arrived, Jeong Song's injuries had nearly healed. He stared at my acceptance letter with undisguised envy. You'll be joining me at my school next year. I'll be waiting. I deliberately held his hand tightly, my eyes brimming with adoration. Sure enough, Soo Exeon's expression darkened instantly nearby, glaring daggers at the admission letter in my hand. I kept provoking her. Jeong Song, you'd better study hard this year. Don't slack off just because you're repeating grades. If you can't get into my university, I'm breaking up with you. I spoke my true feelings with feigned annoyance, yet Jeong Song remained completely oblivious. He chuckled cheerfully. Don't worry, Xiaoyu, I'll definitely pass the exam. I turned to Soo Exeon with a knowing smile. With Exeon looking after you, I can rest easy. Soo Exeon, you'd better not let me down. 9. After Jeong Song decided to retake the year, Soo Exeon followed suit. She said she felt guilty toward Jeong Song and wanted to tough it out with him this year. The thought of having Jeong Song all to herself for a whole year made her eyes sparkle with excitement. Jeong Song was thoroughly enjoying himself. Freed from my watchful eyes this year, he could openly act like lovers with Soo Exeon under the guise of childhood friendship. Staying with me through college would shave 10 years off his struggle. Mother Jeong disapproved though. She never thought much of Soo Exeon, but how could she possibly keep Jeong Song in check? 10. Sure enough, right after I started college, my cousin told me Jeong Song had been hanging out with Soo Exeon constantly. My cousin's a year younger than me, and Jeong Song ended up in her class after repeating a grade, but neither of them knew about our family connection. They just thought she was some random classmate. That Jeong Song would always pretend his hands hurt just to get Soo Exeon to feed him. With his exaggerated limp, Soo Exeon became his personal crutch, following him everywhere like he was some helpless invalid. My cousin recounted this with undisguised disgust. Far from facing discrimination, Jeong Song wore his limp like a badge of honor. Tell your classmates it was a heroic act. You got hurt saving someone. That'll make them gasp in admiration. They'll be too busy admiring him to even think of looking down on him. I reminded her to observe them discreetly without being too obvious or invested, just keeping me posted on anything important. 11. Jeong Song topped the class in the first monthly exam after school started. This won't do. If things keep going like this, he'll actually show up at my place. After much deliberation, I posted a WeChat moment. First month without seeing you, missing you. The accompanying photo was the $1 crystal necklace Jeong Song bought me when we first met. I set the post to be visible only to Soo Exeon and Jeong Song. Almost instantly, Jeong Song gave it a like. Babe, you still kept this necklace. Don't worry, we'll meet soon. Wait for me. I smirked disdainfully and tossed the necklace straight into the trash after taking the photo. Soo Exeon liked it too but quickly unliked it. Probably an accidental tap. I could practically see the envy and resentment twisting her face. Sure enough, the next day I saw Soo Exeon flaunting an identical necklace on her social media. She claimed it was a birthday gift from someone special. We all knew exactly who that someone special was. I seriously doubt Jeong Song would be brazen enough to give her the same gifts he gave me. His game plan was to string me along, leveraging my family's influence to shortcut his career by a decade. While secretly playing this sibling charade with Soo Exeon, waiting until he could shake off my family's control before showing his true colors. When he's still struggling financially, he wouldn't dare cross any real lines. Just push boundaries and keep things ambiguous at most. Most likely, Soo Exeon bought it herself. 12. For over half a year, I'd been subtly and not so subtly flaunting every little detail between Jeong Song and me to Soo Exeon, deliberately stoking her anger. Finally, she snapped and sent me a blistering 60-second voice message. The moment I hit play, a torrent of curses exploded from my speakers. Wincing slightly, I stopped listening after just a few seconds. Stop deluding yourself. Brother Song likes me. He doesn't care about you at all. I typed absent-mindedly. He likes you. Then why hasn't he been with you all these years, sweetie? Jeong Song already promised we'd be together after the college entrance exams. What about you? Can you even follow Jeong Song to the same university? You probably couldn't even last in the same city. Soo Exeon grew increasingly furious, sending a voice message dripping with venom. Why can't I get into the same university as Brother Song? Just you wait. After hearing it, my roommates all stared at me in astonishment, asking what good news had me laughing so hysterically. Wiping tears of laughter from my eyes, I said, my ex-boyfriend's terminally ill. he's dying. 13. My cousin told me Jeong Song had started skipping classes frequently. Teachers repeatedly reprimanded him too, saying even though he was Ivy League material, he couldn't afford to slack off. Jeong Song would obediently agree with his teachers, then turn around and keep skipping classes anyway. Whenever Jeong's mother urged him to study harder, he'd complain about stress and insist on taking breaks. Basically, he was coasting on his natural ability and slacking off. This is typical behavior among repeat exam takers. The vast majority of retakers who fail to improve their scores share this mindset. Arrogance. I knew Soo Exin was behind all this, dragging him to karaoke bars and overnight gaming sessions at internet cafes, showing him what he'd never experienced before. This so-called youth, whenever he felt uneasy and wanted to return to school, Soo Exin would reassure him that with his abilities, he could easily get into Tsinghua or Peking University without reviewing what he'd already mastered. Jeong Song quickly became completely absorbed in it, so when he called to say he didn't get into Tsinghua, I wasn't surprised at all. Being dragged around by Soo Exin partying all year, getting into any 211 university was pure luck for him, though I never expected Soo Exin to be that wild. She altered Jeong Song's college application choices, changed it to the second-tier university affiliated with her vocational college. At least it's still in Beijing. Soo Exin wanted to be with Jeong Song, but since she couldn't reach his social stratum, she inevitably dragged him down. In their past life, Jeong Song carried guilt toward her while I cleaned up their mess. What do they have going for them this time around? Once all lingering affection is exhausted, nothing remains but bitter enmity. 14. Jeong Song was seething with rage, eyes blazing fire, his knuckles cracking audibly as he clenched his fists. Soo Exin curled up fearfully, sobbing uncontrollably between gasps for air. Brother Song, please don't be mad. Sobs. I was scared you'd forget me once you went to college, terrified you'd abandon me. Sniffles. So you tampered with my college application choices. Soo Exin kept crying, because I wanted so badly to stay with you. If you attended the same university as Shinyu, you'd never think of me again. Jeong Song's heart melted at her tears once more, though frustration burned inside him. He couldn't bring himself to scold her further. He snapped impatiently, enough, stop crying, I'm not blaming you. Soo Exin peeked up timidly. Brother Song, are you really repeating senior year? Jeong Song lit a cigarette, bowing his head as smoke curled around him. This too was something he'd picked up from Soo Exin over the past year. No more retakes, it's such a waste of time. We're both in Beijing anyway. 15. Though Jeong Song was willing to let Soo Exin off the hook, his mother had other plans. Before the college entrance exams, she'd been bragging to relatives and neighbors that her son was definitely getting into Tsinghua or Peking University, ended up settling for a second-tier college instead. You can imagine how humiliated she felt. She showed no mercy toward Soo Exin, unlike Jeong Song. You bitch, you've ruined my son, this is all your fault. Madame Jeong vented all her rage on Soo Exin, yanking her hair and slapping her face a dozen times. After ruining my son's life all year, you had the nerve to alter his college application. Come with me to the police station, I'll make sure you rot in jail. Soo Exin was genuinely terrified this time, sobbing her heart out, her cheeks swollen crimson. She kept shaking her head and stumbling backward. Auntie, I didn't mean to. I lost my head for a moment, I'm so sorry. Sobs. The commotion drew all the neighbors out, but none stepped in to mediate. They just stood by watching the spectacle. Soo's parents desperately tried to intervene, while Jeong Song shrank into a corner, not daring to make a sound. He was probably afraid Jeong's mother would grill him about why his retake scores dropped by over 200 points. In the end, this farce concluded with the Soo family agreeing to compensate Jeong's family 100,000 yuan. 16. When Jeong Song hesitantly told me he got into a second-tier college, I showed understanding. It's okay, I get it, repeating senior year is stressful. At least we're still in the same city. When term started, I went to pick Jeong Song up at the station, and Soo Exin popped out from behind him. She wore a triumphant smile. Sis, you're not mad that brother Song and I go to the same school, are you? I gave her a gentle smile. Of course not, I know you've been taking good care of Jeong Song. Then I turned my gaze to Jeong Song. Ah Song, remember what your mom said about us getting married right after starting college? Soo Exin's expression changed instantly. I continued, but I think we're both too young. Maybe we should wait until after graduation to register our marriage. Jeong Song chuckled. Sure, I'm fine with that. I flashed Su Xian a smile and hooked my arm through Jiang Song's as we headed toward the station exit. I could feel Su Xian's scorching glare burning holes into my back without even turning around. 17. I started visiting Jiang Song frequently, even skipping classes to see him. After all, I'd already studied these college courses in my past life. Acing exams came effortlessly even without attending lectures. My roommates couldn't understand why I kept running after some street punk. Xinyu, don't tell me you're being played. Guys like that always prey on vulnerable girls. I just smiled at them. It's fine, I know him, his feelings for me are genuine. My roommate gave me a complicated look, sighed, and stopped trying to persuade me. Jiang Song was thoroughly pleased. At first, he'd been anxious too, afraid I'd actually break up with him just because he only got into a second-tier college. What's wrong with second-tier? A degree isn't half as important as the person. After graduation, I'll have my dad pull strings to get you a management position. Jiang Song looked smug. A cigarette dangling from his lips. Exactly, who still judges people by degrees these days? Grades don't define everything. Xiaoyu, don't worry, once I join the company, I'll make sure Dad won't be disappointed. I smiled at him. Thanks to Su Xin's efforts, Jiang Songhe was a completely different person from his past self. His cheeks were sunken, his eyes dull, none of that spirited youthful energy remained. At least he was decent looking in his past life, not this crude. 18. I don't know how Su Xian's college life was, but Jiang Song's university years were downright miserable. He's nothing like his former self, and being lame didn't help either. People never missed a chance to mock him behind his back. College students are far more complicated than high school peers. No one would think highly of him just for claiming his injuries were from heroic deeds. On top of that, while I visited him often as his official girlfriend, he'd frequently hang out with Su Xian whenever I wasn't around. Wherever he went, hushed whispers seemed to follow. Coming from a single-parent household, Jiang Song had always been sensitive. Over time, he became convinced everyone at school looked down on him and meant him harm. Who the hell do they think they are? When I become CEO, I'll make damn sure none of those bastards get hired. Jiang Song's eyes burned red as he gulped beer and spat the words venomously. And those damn roommates, acting all high and mighty when they barely scraped into third-rate colleges. Has he forgotten he's also just a second-tier college student now? I hesitated to speak, then simply smiled instead. Jiang Song, since your classmates are so unbearable, why don't you move off campus? Jiang Song's eyes lit up, clearly tempted, yet still hesitant. But the rent, I'll cover it. But, I put on a troubled expression. We can't use my ID for the lease. I'm afraid my parents might find out. Jiang Song nodded eagerly. Use mine, I'll go get my ID right now. A sly smile crept across my lips as I bookmarked several loan apps after he left. 19. Whenever I was with Jiang Song, Su Xian would inexplicably pop up out of nowhere. The moment I showed displeasure, Jiang Song would trot out that tired old excuse, she's my sister, which makes her your sister too. Are you really jealous of your own sister? Su Xian played along perfectly, showing no trace of her previous threats toward me. Xiaoyu Jia, I genuinely only see Brother Song as family. Jiang Song chuckled while pinching my cheek, making me blush and dodge away as I rummaged through my bag for tissues. Su Xian let out a small gasp. Xiaoyu, is that a limited edition bag you're carrying? I gave an embarrassed smile. Yeah, it was Dad's birthday gift. I didn't really want it, but he insisted a proper bag matters for a girl out in the world. A fleeting gleam passed through Su Xian's eyes. Xiaoyu, I'm so jealous of you having such a wealthy dad. I chuckled. Want to carry it? Be my guest. Su Xian looked pleasantly surprised but didn't stand on ceremony, taking it without hesitation. After that, she milked me dry. Designer bags, cosmetics, clothes, whatever caught her eye, she'd shamelessly claim as her own. She called it borrowing. But those items never found their way back. I never pressed her, instead taking her to upscale restaurants, watching her strike dozens of poses, then post meticulously edited photos that garnered heaps of likes and envy. Seeing Su Xin's transformation filled me with growing delight. Jiang Song was affected too, not just Su Xian. While talent shines through anywhere, resisting influence in such an environment was nearly impossible. Besides, he'd already lost his studious drive long before the college entrance exams. He became addicted to gaming, spending 648 yuan in single transactions until his living allowance vanished. Eventually they had no choice but to turn to me for help, and I didn't refuse. At first it was transfers of a few thousand here and there, then it escalated to tens of thousands at a time. I made sure to mark every single transfer as a loan in the notes. Jeong Song insisted on this arrangement to preserve his dignity, not that I minded at all. His obsessions quickly expanded beyond just gaming, designer shoes, luxury phones, branded clothes, things he couldn't afford, so he kept borrowing money from me. He even became a regular at nightclubs, using my internship as an excuse. I started seeing him less frequently. He's really letting loose now. Out of 10 times I contacted him weekly, 9 were him borrowing money. 20. Jeong Song. My parents want to discuss wedding plans. They'd like to hold the ceremony first and buy our marital home. I deliberately waited until Soo Exeon tagged along again to say these things to Jeong Song. Jeong Song gasped with delight. Really, let me call my mom over to meet my in-laws. Also, my parents mentioned they want to send us abroad, get some international exposure before coming back. It'll make job hunting easier later. Don't worry about costs though, my folks are covering everything. Before Jeong Song could respond, Soo Exeon let out an excited shriek. Going abroad, brother Song. You can't just abandon me and leave the country. Jeong Song was still deep in thought when she interrupted him, putting him in an understandably foul mood. Why shouldn't I go abroad? Are you just jealous of my success? Soo Exeon bit her lip, speechless. I stole a glance at her without changing expression. Her face turned paper white, fingernails digging crescent moons into her palms, with a coquettish smile. I leaned into Jeong Song's embrace. We're getting married, don't you dare betray me. I'll never forgive you if you do. Jeong Song kept making promises, but Soo Exeon's expression only darkened further, hidden from their sight. I couldn't suppress my cold laughter. 21. Soo Exeon was pregnant. Soon enough, Jeong Song's father's identity was exposed too. Their entire grade was abuzz with gossip, and Jeong Song became the subject of hushed whispers wherever he went. Jeong Song knelt before me, weeping bitterly. Xiaoyu, I was truly out of my mind, that bitch drugged me. I had no control over myself. I slammed their hotel receipts right on the table. One time could be accidental, but 10 hotel visits this month. Were you drugged every single time? Jeong Song was left speechless, reduced to begging for my forgiveness. Xiaoyu, you know how much I love you. How could I possibly have a child with someone else? I came to Beijing just for you. I fell silent for a long moment, gently touching Jeong Song's reddened eyes. Fine, I might consider forgiving you, but... My tone shifted abruptly. You must make Soo Exeon terminate the pregnancy. Jeong Song froze. Xiaoyu, she's already 5 months pregnant. What's 5 months? In my past life, I was 6 months pregnant when they tortured me until I miscarried. I smiled at Jeong Song. What? Having second thoughts? No, of course not. He shook his head vigorously like a rattle drum. I'll make her get rid of the baby right now. Jeong Song made several calls in a row, but no one picked up on the other end. Clenching his teeth, he muttered curses under his breath. Xiaoyu, I'm going straight to see her. We'll settle this face to face. Wait for me. Just wait. I watched him leave, then immediately contacted Mrs. Jeong, sent her a text message from an unknown number. Soo Exeon is pregnant, with your son's child. The doctor confirmed it's a boy. Staring at my phone, a slow smile spread across my face. Mrs. Jeong never approved of Soo Exeon, but she'd never turn away her precious grandson. 22. Just as expected. Jeong Song reached out to me cautiously 2 days later. Xiaoyu, I really did ask Soo Exeon to get an abortion, but somehow my mom found out and absolutely forbids it. I pinched my thigh hard, forcing my voice to sound tearful. Well then, you four enjoy your happy family. I won't bother you anymore. With that, they hung up the phone. For the next few days, I stayed at a hotel and avoided Jeong Song no matter how hard he tried to see me. Then I heard Soo Exeon had been hospitalized. Jeong Song had slipped her abortion pills. When found, Soo Exeon was completely drenched in blood, barely clinging to life. Jeong Song truly had ice running through his veins. 23. Yet against all odds, Soo Exeon was revived. Over the phone, Jeong Song sounded utterly deranged. Xiaoyu, I've already gotten rid of Soo Exeon's child. You should forgive me now. I admired my freshly done nails for a while, waiting for him to finish his tantrum before speaking lazily. Jeong Song, I've thought it over. The thing is, I still don't want to forgive you. Just stay with Soo Exeon properly. She genuinely cares about you. Jeong Song froze for a moment before begging me desperately. Xiaoyu, what are you saying? I even got an abortion for you. This must be some kind of test. Right, Xiaoyu, I don't have feelings for Soo Exeon at all. Nor her child. You're the only one I love. Jeong Song, I cut him off. What makes you think I'd want a cripple? There was silence on the other end for a moment before Jeong Sung's shrill curses erupted. Shin Yu, you heartless bitch. I killed our child with my own hands for you, you venomous witch, cold-blooded snake. I couldn't even be bothered to listen and hung up immediately. I compiled evidence of Jeong Sung's relationship with me. Dug up the provocative voice messages Su Xian had sent me, and included their hotel room photos, created a PowerPoint presentation and uploaded it to Jeong Sung's university forum and fan communities. 24. Jeong Sung and Su Xian became utterly infamous. The PPT laid out in detail how Jeong Sung was sleeping with his dear little sister, Su Xian, while discussing wedding plans with me. Finally wrote a passage, in the first year, during the college entrance exams. You gave up your chance for her and chose to repeat senior year. The second year, I eagerly awaited your arrival at my university to fulfill our promise, yet you let her alter your college application choices just to stay together. In our third year together, when we were planning our wedding, you started dating her frequently and checking into hotels. Now you've had a child with her. And you expect me to accept both her and your illegitimate child, Jeong Sung. I'm not stupid. And I'm not without my limits. You keep calling her your sister. But what kind of sister sends voice messages threatening me to break up with you back in high school? I ignored her threats back then, but looking back now, I should have walked away from you sooner. Jeong Sung, we're through. 25. The moment the PPT dropped, the internet went wild. Soon enough, Jeong Sung and Su Xian's personal information got doxed. Jeong Sung tried to defend himself, accusing me of killing his child. Who'd sympathize with homewreckers and scumbags, let alone their illegitimate kids? That bastard shows zero remorse, only doting on his cheating spawn. Netizens grew even more furious. Some even threatened to report Su Xian for tampering with college entrance exam applications, saying she deserved jail time. During that period, Jeong Sung and Su Xian became public enemies who had to wear sunglasses and masks whenever they went out. Bowing to public pressure, the school expelled both students. Just like in her previous life, Su Xian couldn't get into any school, but Jeong Sung wasn't the same person anymore. He could only slink away from school with Su Xian, packing his bags in disgrace. 26. With nowhere left to turn, Jeong Sung called me. At first, he begged for forgiveness, but when he saw I wouldn't budge, his shame twisted into rage. Shin Yu, who do you think you are? You should be grateful I'd even consider you. So what if I slept with someone? What man hasn't done that? Why are you making such a big deal out of it? Let me tell you something, Su Xian is way better than you. You think you're special just because you've got some dirty money. The wheel of fortune turns. Just you wait, I said lazily. Jeong Sung, don't you ever dream of that child coming back to haunt you. I may not be a saint, but at least I didn't kill my own flesh and blood like you did. No text to translate. Oh, by the way, I stopped paying rent for that place you're living in last month. Better settle that soon. That money I lent you before adds up to over 100 grand now. When are you paying me back? There was a sharp intake of breath on the other end before the call disconnected. Jeong's mother called me too, just to curse me for killing her precious grandson and wish me a miserable death. Auntie, no one understands the meaning of a miserable death better than I do. Last time it was me, now it's your turn. After that, I completely cut her off without another word. I stopped keeping tabs on Jeong Sung and Su Xian, only catching occasional updates about them through others. 27. Jeong Sung refused to retake his exams and stayed in the city working odd jobs. After being discharged from the hospital, Su Xian shockingly forgave him for terminating her pregnancy and fully committed to their relationship. Both were idle loafers, unwilling to do hard labor. Jeong Sung kept hitting walls in his job search. Few companies wanted a college dropout who'd flunked out of a second-tier university. Even when he passed interviews, employers would find his online history with Su Xian and politely reject him. Convinced they discriminated against his limp, he assaulted an HR staffer and landed in jail for days. Now it's even harder to find a job. After I supported him financially for a while, he developed extravagant spending habits and quickly blew through his father's death benefits. Jeong's mother had no choice but to start working odd jobs in her late 50s to support him, though by my calculations, those people should be showing up any time now. I wasn't particularly surprised when I answered the phone and recognized Jeong Sung's voice. 28. Shin Yu, you damn bitch, why should I pay back the money you borrowed? Get these people out of here now. Faint. Impatient urgings could be heard in the background as Jeong Sung kept placating them, only to turn back and snarl at me in a hushed voice. Pay back your own damn debts. All the money I lent Jeong Song was actually online loans taken out using his ID. Now that the deadline's up, the creditors are only coming after him. I feigned surprise. Didn't you spend all that money yourself? Besides, you promised to pay me back every penny. What? Just because it's a different creditor now? You think you're off the hook? Jeong Song choked momentarily before roaring. I don't care. You're the one who borrowed it. Get your ass over here now. Jeong Song, sometimes I seriously wonder if your brain is just filled with shit. I let out a cold laugh and hung up directly, ignoring the shouting on the other end. I never expected Jeong Song and Soo Exeon to be crazy enough to actually kidnap me. 29. Waking up bound hand and foot in that dimly lit room. I was still struggling to process what was happening. A cold chuckle came from the darkness across. You're awake. A dull pain throbbed at the back of my head, bringing back memories of what happened. Yesterday while I was home, someone called asking me to move my car in the parking lot. I'd just reached the parking lot when someone knocked me out cold. Jeong Song. I struggled to sit upright, forcing myself to stay composed. Have you lost your mind? Kidnapping? Do you have any idea how many years you'll get for this? Jeong Song emerged from the darkness, his face devoid of emotion. Prison, those bastards threatened to chop my hand off. Shinyu, you forced my hand. I just wanted money. What's wrong with taking a little from your wealthy family? I took a deep breath and scanned the surroundings. Where's Soo Exeon? She's supposed to be your accomplice, isn't she? Jeong Song nodded. She went out to get food. Jeong Song seemed relatively calm. I closed my eyes, weighing my options. With hollow eyes, Jeong Song said, none of this would have happened if you hadn't broken up with me. You're the one who dumped me and left me drowning in debt. I opened my eyes and scoffed. After making you kill your own child, you still want to be with me. None of that matters. Watching Jeong Song's blank expression sent chills crawling up my spine. Maybe in this life and the last, I never truly understood him. The door clicked open. 30. Soo Exeon walked in carrying 2 lunch boxes. Brother Song, why is she awake? Jeong Song ignored her and kept eating. Soo Exeon looked at me with a smug expression. Shinyu, never thought you'd end up like this, did you? This is what you get for betraying me and Song Go. Aren't you scared? Soo Exeon froze momentarily at my interruption. What? I locked eyes with Soo Exeon. Haven't you been through this before? Coming back to this dim place doesn't frighten you at all. That kidnapping left no psychological scars. Oh right, it was your own staged kidnapping after all. Soo Exeon sprang to her feet, shrieking, how dare you? What fake? Shut your mouth. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Jeong Song freeze with his chopsticks midair and jerk his head up. I smirked and continued mercilessly, dare you deny that your so-called kidnapping during college entrance exams was your own elaborate hoax? Not a single one of those kidnappers got caught. Wasn't that because you deliberately let them escape? Weren't all those things your own doing to keep Jeong Song trapped? Oh right, if it was a fake kidnapping, how come Jeong Song ended up with broken limbs? I put on an expression of deep contemplation before suddenly feigning enlightenment. Ah, don't tell me you're the one who hired those kidnappers. Soo Exeon turned deathly pale. No, you're framing me. I didn't, Brother Song. Don't believe her. She lunged for duct tape to silence me, but Jeong Song blocked her path. His eyes locked onto me as he hissed through clenched teeth. What proof do you have? Soo Exeon was sobbing nearby, begging him not to believe me. Proof? Plenty. For starters, Soo Exeon's family isn't wealthy. Why would kidnappers target her? To traffic her? Then why choose the day before college entrance exams? Kidnapping a student during peak surveillance. Does that make any sense? Or take this, Soo Exeon spent a full day kidnapped without a scratch, yet you got your limbs broken trying to rescue her. If you go back to Lugao High now, you might still find those delinquents lurking in the alleys near the school, because those were actually Soo Exeon's hired actors. She recruited them from around the school when she attended Lugao. Soo Exeon stared at me in shock and fear, stammering, how did you? Jeong Song turned deathly pale, swaying unsteadily on his feet. You were the first to storm into that kidnapper's den. How could you not notice something was off? Jeong Song seemed to recall something, glaring at Soo Exeon with gritted teeth. You weren't even tied up back then. I thought you'd broken free yourself, but there weren't any rope marks on your wrists. As Soo Exeon tried to explain, Jeong Song snatched her phone and found the money transfer she'd sent to the kidnappers at that exact time, with her scheme exposed. Soo Exeon dropped the act and collapsed onto the floor wailing, I only did those things because I was terrified she'd steal you away. I love you too much, Brother Song. Please don't be angry with me. She thought she could minimize this scandal like when she tampered with Jeong Song's college applications, just cry hysterically until it blew over. But back then, Jeong Song only forgave so easily because he thought I'd always clean up his messes. Jeong Song glared at Soo Exin like a demon possessed. So it was you who ruined me, Soo Exin. Jeong Song rained blows upon Soo Exin in frenzy, completely oblivious to me having stealthily untied the ropes. 31. This is all your fault, you wretched bitch. After I went out of my way to save you, you've destroyed my entire damn life. I won't remind Jeong Song that while Soo Exin staged the whole drama herself, the one who truly ruined him was his own doing. I prayed they wouldn't notice me so I could make a clean escape. Thankfully, Jeong Song was too consumed by rage to bother with me. By the time I fled, Soo Exin couldn't even muster a scream. I called the police the moment I got out. Jeong Song kept cursing Soo Exin nonstop while being put into the police car. 32. Soo Exin was taken to the hospital instead. Years later, I heard both Jeong Song and Soo Exin had been released from prison, with creditors still knocking on his door. Jeong Song ended up selling Soo Exin. Little did he expect the traffickers would take him too. After all, 2 sets of organs fetched double the price of one. They were both trafficked to northern Myanmar. After that, I never heard from them again. Whether they're alive or dead remains unknown, but none of that concerns me anymore. Gazing at the vast blue sky, I felt utterly refreshed. Story 2. Tangiza and I were married for 3 years under a contractual agreement, treating each other with the utmost respect. It wasn't until his sudden death that I discovered his deep-seated love for me, hidden for over a decade, through his diaries. Later, time reversed, and I found myself back on the night of our wedding. As he was about to take a pillow to the guest room, I stopped him. Let's stay together. He nodded and walked back to the room, pillow in hand. I first met Tangiza at a banquet. Both of us were being pressured by our families to get married, so we hit it off and decided on a marriage of convenience. After the wedding, we didn't interfere in each other's lives. I thought I would spend my life this way, but then Tangiza passed away from stomach cancer. Although we lived under the same roof, our relationship was more distant than that of roommates, to the extent that I didn't even know about his stomach cancer during those 3 years. As his wife, I handled the funeral arrangements, while sorting through his belongings. I found a diary in a drawer in his study. Compelled by some unknown force, I opened the diary, which contained detailed entries about me. May 10, 2019. I never thought I would meet her again. May 12. I married her. It's just a contract, but I was so excited I couldn't sleep all night. May 27th. She didn't come home tonight. I was worried, but we had agreed not to interfere with each other. June 10th. She noticed my stomach pain today. I brushed it off, but I was happy that she cared. Before I knew it, I had read through the entire diary. Many of the recorded events I had no recollection of, or they were just passing comments, yet he treasured them deeply. The sun had long set outside the window, and the moon hung over the willows, rubbing my sore eyes. I gazed out at the bright moonlight, feeling somewhat bewildered. Tangiza loved me, but why didn't he tell me? Initially indifferent, my heart now felt a tinge of melancholy. I finished sorting his belongings and went back to the bedroom to sleep. However, thoughts of Tangiza kept me tossing and turning in bed, restless. Miss Ning, my friends have already left. I'm sorry, I didn't expect them to be so rowdy in the bridal suite. The bedroom door opened, and a deep, familiar voice came from the doorway. I sat up abruptly in bed, startled. The man in the doorway was Tangiza, impeccably dressed in a suit, exuding a cool, refined aura just by standing there, but he had been laid to rest not long ago. What was happening? However, as soon as his gaze fell on me, he quickly looked away as if stung, and exited the bedroom. I'm sorry, I should have knocked. Confused, I looked down and realized that my nightgown had transformed into a wedding dress, which was slipping off due to my restless movements, exposing my skin, my cheeks burning. I quickly adjusted the dress. All set. Tangiza calmly re-entered and picked a set of bedding from the wardrobe. From now on, you sleep in the master bedroom, and I'll move to the guest room. How had I responded before? It seemed I had agreed without hesitation. Watching Tangiza about to leave, the contents of the diary flashed through my mind, and almost instinctively, I called out to him. Maybe, we could stay together. Tangiza's back stiffened suddenly, and he awkwardly put down the pillow. Okay. Seeing him awkwardly approach the bed, a faint blush barely noticeable on his ears, I suddenly found this situation somewhat amusing. Regretting my words as soon as they had left my mouth, I realized I wasn't very familiar with Tangiza. Stopping him had been a spur-of-the-moment decision. Sensing my embarrassment, Tangiza offered to sleep on the living room sofa, which alleviated my discomfort. That night, which I had spent tossing and turning, quickly faded into sleep as soon as I lay back down in bed. The next day, when I saw Tangiza return from his morning run, I had come to terms with the fact that I was somehow back to 3 years ago. "Good morning." Tangiza casually wiped the fine sweat from his forehead and nodded at me with a stern face. His indifferent tone felt like he was greeting a stranger, devoid of any emotional fluctuations. After changing his clothes, he hurried off, not even sparing me a glance. This made me wonder if I had remembered something about the diary incorrectly, or if it wasn't written by Tangiza at all. Madam, the servant snapped me out of my daze. "Mrs. Lee, what is it?" I asked her. "Mrs. Lee said, the master left for the office without even having breakfast. If you have time later, could you bring him breakfast?" Her familiar question brought my thoughts back to 3 years ago when she had asked me the same thing. What had I responded back then? "Just take it yourself." Mrs. Lee hesitated but nodded. Later, seeing the untouched lunchbox Mrs. Lee brought back from the kitchen, I didn't mind, but now, I thought of something and nodded. "Okay." A visible joy appeared on Mrs. Lee's face as she hurried into the kitchen to prepare the breakfast, muttering excitedly, "The master will be very pleased." I remembered how indifferently Tangiza had left that morning. Would he really be pleased? Half an hour later, I arrived at the Tang Corporation building with a large box of breakfast. The receptionist didn't recognize me and stopped me, but eventually, Tangiza's secretary saw me and led me to the president's office. Tangiza was inside, discussing business with a manager. His stern voice scolding them could be heard even through the door, sounding quite intimidating. The secretary asked me to wait outside while he went in to inform him. Soon, I heard the secretary say to Tangiza, "Mr. Tang, your family member has brought you breakfast." "No need, let her go back." Tangiza sounded impatient, his voice cold and even tinged with anger. Though I had lived with Tangiza for 3 years, I had never seen him so detached and heartless, which made me shiver. The next moment, our eyes met as he turned to look towards the door. He froze, the anger on his face solidifying, shocked and unable to recover for a long time. The secretary's voice carried a hint of schadenfreude. "Mr. Tang, I forgot to mention, it's your wife who brought the breakfast." Tangiza quickly stood up and came over to apologize. "Sorry, I didn't know it was you." Afterward, I witnessed his discomfiture and the slight redness of his ears. Due to my arrival, the scolded manager was freed, looking at me as if I were a savior. The secretary, pushing the manager along, hurriedly left and thoughtfully closed the office door behind them. In the vast space, only Tangiza and I remained. To avoid an awkward atmosphere, I took the initiative to speak. "Mrs. Lee asked me to bring this over. It seems a bit much." I set down the breakfast and rubbed my palm, which was marked by the strap of the bag. Tangiza looked at my palm, a flicker of hidden emotion passing through his eyes. He opened his mouth as if to say something but eventually reverted to his usual calm and thanked me with a detached tone. "The meeting this morning was a bit rushed, so I didn't have time to eat. Thank you." I replied with a "no need to be polite" and sat down on the nearby sofa. Although his movements were subtle, I noticed that he occasionally held his stomach while eating. Remembering that he had died of stomach cancer before, I pursed my lips and couldn't help but ask, "Is your stomach bothering you?" After living together as roommates for 3 years, it shouldn't be a problem to show some concern, right? Tangiza paused with his chopsticks in hand and said, "It's nothing." He looked composed. As if I had been mistaken, I frowned slightly. Really, I tried to recall when Tangiza had developed stomach cancer, but I hadn't paid much attention to him in the past and couldn't remember. In fact, I only learned about his stomach cancer at his funeral. "If you're not feeling well, it's better to go to the hospital for a checkup." I took out my phone and started looking through my contacts to find a doctor's number to make an appointment for him. After only a few moments, I stopped. "Sorry, I might be overstepping. We had agreed before marriage not to interfere in each other's lives." Feeling uncertain, I fumbled with my phone, stood up awkwardly, and decided to leave to avoid the awkward situation. Tangiza quickly stood up as well. "You're right. Health is the foundation of everything. It's necessary to get a checkup. I'll go tomorrow. Thank you for your reminder." His low, soft voice eased my tension, and I relaxed and smiled at him, thinking of his work commitments. I didn't stay long. The secretary was beaming as she escorted me downstairs. "Madam, the usually stern Mr. Tang softens up as soon as you appear. If Madam visits more often, Mr. Tang might stop scolding us for being foolish. Really, of course, you didn't see Mr. Tang secretly smiling in his office just now. He definitely likes you a lot. I tugged at the corner of my mouth, non-committally. Back at the villa, seeing the empty lunchbox I brought back, the housekeeper laughed heartily. I told you, as long as Madam brings it over, Sir will definitely finish it. After all, Sir likes Madam so much. I paused for a moment. How come everyone says Tangiza likes me? But I never noticed before. Even now, I'm still doubtful. When I skeptically shared this with my best friend, her high-pitched scream came through the phone. You're just realizing this now. Do you remember the wedding dress you wore at your wedding? It was a globally limited haute couture piece. If it was just a contractual marriage, why would Tangiza go to such lengths to buy such an expensive wedding dress? My friend listed everything she had noticed. I had asked him about this before. Tangiza had merely said that it was the cheapest wedding dress in his family, and I had to make do with it. Also, at the wedding, his eyes were glued to you with deep affection, and he was so sincere when toasting your parents. That deep affection must have been my friend's imagination. At the time, Tangiza said he looked at me more because my makeup was smudged, and I even went back to the makeup room for a touch-up. I explained this to my friend. She was silent on the phone for a few seconds before sighing helplessly. Should I say you're as dense as wood or as thick as steel? It's good that you're already married, or else with your EQ, you might end up alone. Me, no matter what. I originally just wanted to coast through life with Tangiza. Now, mixing in other emotions. It seems this contract isn't quite fair. I pondered back and forth all day and finally came to a conclusion. To divorce Tangiza, the next day at noon. Tangiza came home from work for lunch. As my thoughts wandered, I pondered how to broach the subject with him. Tangiza spoke first. I went to the hospital for a checkup this morning, and the doctor said there's nothing seriously wrong with me. It was me who had insisted he go for a health checkup yesterday. He remembered. Really, can I see the medical report? I asked hesitantly, worried that my question was too intrusive. However, Tangiza handed me the report without a word. I carefully reviewed it, and only after confirming that there were indeed no issues did I feel relieved. That's good to hear. Please take good care of your health from now on. My concern seemed to soften his gaze as he nodded in agreement, but the pleasant mood didn't last long. Shattered by the bombshell I was about to drop, my eyes flickered, unable to meet his. There's something I need to tell you. Tangiza looked up at me. I lowered my gaze. I think we should get a divorce. The air seemed to freeze instantly, the silence deafening. His voice was hoarse and dry. Is there someone else? We had agreed that if one of us fell in love with someone else, we would have to let the other go. I shook my head. No. He seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. Then why? If there's something you're unhappy about, I could. Seeing the resolve in my eyes, his voice trailed off. He suddenly got up from his chair and left the villa in a panic. I just remembered I have some urgent matters at the company. We can talk about this later. However, instead of a later conversation with Tangiza, I received a call about an accident. Ma'am, the boss has had an accident. It's urgent. You need to come quickly. The caller was Tangiza's friend, Zhou Chen. His urgent tone was all too familiar, instantly bringing back memories of a similar call 3 years ago. Back then, I was traveling with a friend, celebrating my escape from family nagging. The distance was too great for me to return immediately, so I had the housekeeper check on him. The next day, when I called Tangiza back, he said it was just a prank by friends and told me not to worry. It was much later that I learned from the housekeeper that he had been hospitalized for a gastric bleed that night. This time, I wasn't traveling, so when I received the call again, I was on high alert and immediately asked for the address to rush over. It turned out to be a bar. I found their private room, pushed the door open, and was met with several pairs of eyes staring back at me, leaving me frozen in place. Ma'am, you finally made it. Zhou Chen stood up, greeting me with a grin. This is the urgent matter you mentioned. I looked around at the harmonious scene of everyone drinking and felt slightly awkward. Well, isn't it urgent? The boss seemed to be in a bad mood today and called us out for drinks. Once he started, he wouldn't stop. And none of us could persuade him, but you know the boss's stomach. Zhou Chen seemed to recall something, his words abruptly stopping, then quickly changing the subject. So, for the boss's health, we had to ask you to take him home. I looked in the direction Zhou Chen indicated. Tangiza was lazily leaning on the sofa, his sharp brows slightly furrowed, his deep, dark eyes slightly misty from the alcohol, seemingly surprised to see me. His expression froze. I walked over, figuring out how to approach him to leave, when Zhou Chen called out for me. Boss, your wife is here to take you home. The drunken Tangiza was slow to react, eventually nodding and placing his hand in mine, letting me lead him away. His childlike compliance made me almost laugh. After thanking Zhou Chen and the others, I took Tangiza home. Before I left the house, I heard some teasing coming from behind. I told you, having the sister-in-law around really makes a difference. The boss is definitely under his wife's thumb. My cheeks flushed quietly, and the temperature between my hands suddenly rose. Zhou Chen seemed to have realized that Tangiza was indeed under his wife's thumb. From that day on, he started to intermittently report to me and pass messages. Sister-in-law, the boss is drinking again despite your warnings. Today, a woman tried to approach the boss, but he didn't even spare her a glance. Don't worry, sister-in-law, the boss only has eyes for you. Sister-in-law, the boss told me he doesn't like sleeping in the guest room. Why don't you let him come back to the master bedroom to sleep? I looked at the newly received text message, and quietly glanced up at Tangiza, who was sitting across the dining table with a cold expression. I couldn't imagine him saying those things to Zhou Chen. Perhaps my stare was too obvious. Tangiza looked over. What's wrong? Caught peeking. I panicked. I was just wondering what movie tickets you bought. Movie? Zhou Chen said you bought movie tickets to go see a film with me. I instinctively pointed to my phone, but upon seeing Tangiza's slightly furrowed brow, my mind cleared. How silly of me, to actually believe Zhou Chen's words. Tangiza would never ask me out to a movie. But before I could find an excuse to brush off the matter as a joke, I heard his reply. It's this movie, not sure if you'll like it. After saying that, he passed his phone to me. On the screen was a booking confirmation for a newly released romance movie. I was stunned for a moment. He really bought the movie tickets. Until we reached the cinema, I was still in shock and confusion. Tangiza seemed to know my preferences well. He picked up the movie tickets and even bought me a Coke and popcorn. Romance movies often featured ambiguous scenes between the leads, and less than halfway through, the characters kissed. It was like watching a romance movie with my parents, biting into the popcorn, cheeks flushing red, barely daring to make a sound, silently praying for the scene to end quickly. However, what came next wasn't the scene skipping, but Tangiza leaning over. The dim light of the cinema cast a soft glow on his handsome face, making everything around him seem blurred. As if he was the main character of the movie, my hands tightened around the popcorn, heart racing, even picking up the scent of cedar coming from him. The atmosphere was tinged with a moment of ambiguity. Almost instinctively, I closed my eyes. There's popcorn on you. He flicked the popcorn off my shoulder. I opened my eyes to see a fleeting look of complexity and restraint in his eyes, too flustered. I didn't consider the implications. Thank you. I was immensely grateful for the dim light in the cinema, which hid my blushing cheeks. He couldn't possibly like me. It must be a lie. Afterward, it seemed to confirm my thoughts, as Tangiza began to avoid me, intentionally or not. Can Tangiza really handle it? You've only been married for a few days, and he's already willing to leave his beautiful wife at home for a business trip, my friend said indignantly during our call. The day after the movie. He told me he needed to go on a business trip, and as of today, he hasn't returned for a week. It must be urgent work, I said. Suddenly, my friend's voice took on a teasing tone. Look at you, already making excuses for him. Could it be that you've fallen for him? How could that be possible? But from the way you've been talking about Tangiza during this call, I guess, have you fallen in love? I'm starting to feel sorry for Tangiza. Making you bloom is harder than reaching the heavens. We talked for a long time, and before I knew it, I fell asleep on the couch in the living room, half dreaming. I felt myself being lifted by a pair of strong arms. Soon, my entire body sank into softness. A deep sigh near my ear blurred the lines between dreams and reality. Ning ning, what am I going to do with you? The next day, I woke up in my bedroom, rubbing my eyes. I went out and asked Mrs. Lee if she was the one who had taken me back to my room. Mrs. Lee looked at me with an ant-like smile on her face. Before I could decipher the meaning behind her smile, Tangiza came out of the kitchen. Had he returned from his business trip? Last night was first. Mrs. Lee was about to speak when Tangiza interrupted her. It was Mrs. Lee who took you back to your room. The weather is getting colder. Try not to sleep in the living room anymore. I nodded, and before I could greet him, his cold gaze swept over me and he turned away. After returning from his trip, Tangiza became even more distant from me. If we were once courteous, now we were like strangers who barely nodded in passing. This situation lasted a week until Zhou Chen called me. Sister-in-law, the boss, he's been hospitalized. When I arrived at the hospital, Tang Isa was lying on the hospital bed, his face deathly pale. For a moment, his gaunt appearance reminded me of the Tang Isa I remembered lying in a coffin. Panicking, I asked Zhou Chen. "What's wrong with Tang Isa?" Zhou Chen hung his head, his lips moved repeatedly, and it took a while before he seemed to make up his mind to reply. "Actually, the boss has stomach cancer." "How is that possible? He was fine when he last went for a checkup." "That was a fake report he had made because he didn't want you to worry. Actually, he wasn't on a business trip a few days ago, he was in the hospital for treatment. He had just been discharged not long ago when his condition worsened." As he spoke, things started to become clearer in my mind. In the 3 years of our marriage, whenever Tang Isa returned from his trips, he looked exhausted. I thought it was due to the travel, never suspecting it was due to illness. Zhou Chen continued, "Sister-in-law, the boss didn't want us to tell you, but he has been reluctant to cooperate with the treatment. Maybe it's selfish of me, but could you persuade him? If you ask him, he'll surely listen." I pursed my lips, non-committal. Tang Isa slept for a long time, from day to night, so long that I thought he might never wake up, but finally, his eyes fluttered open. Upon seeing me, a flicker of confusion crossed his eyes, quickly replaced by a furrowed brow. "Why are you here? Zhou Chen told me everything, why didn't you tell me?" Remembering he even used a fake medical report to deceive me, my voice carried a hint of anger. When I appeared in the hospital room, Tang Isa seemed to realize he couldn't hide it anymore. His eyes dimmed. "I'm sorry, I just didn't want to worry you." He paused, took a deep breath, and then continued, "Also, about the divorce you mentioned last time, I'll have the lawyer prepare the paperwork tomorrow." A wave of irritation surged in me, and turning away, I echoed his earlier words. "I've been a bit busy lately, let's talk about the divorce later." Tang Isa nodded, responding briefly with a but when he saw me settling in to wash fruits and check the 4-drip, showing no signs of leaving, he became puzzled. "Aren't you busy?" "Yes, busy taking care of someone in the hospital." I sat down, covered myself with a small blanket on the couch, and slept there through the night, ignoring his pleas to leave. Tang Isa had no choice but to let me be. 9. I couldn't understand why Tang Isa was unwilling to cooperate with the doctor for treatment. During the days I stayed with him in the hospital, I noticed several times that he refused medical examinations. As the doctor put it, the patient lacked a strong will to live. Lost in thought about what the doctor said, I wasn't paying attention and accidentally cut my finger while slicing fruit. Blood began to seep out. Tang Isa frowned deeply, grabbed some hydrogen peroxide, and began disinfecting my wound. "Sorry, I shouldn't have let you handle the knife. It was me who wanted to cut the fruit for him." Yet he was the one apologizing. The pain from the hydrogen peroxide made me hiss in pain. Tang Isa apologized to me again, then proceeded more gently. Each apology during those few minutes overwhelmed me, and unable to hold back my irritation, I burst out, "Sorry, sorry, always sorry. I don't want to hear sorry. I want to hear I love you." The air suddenly grew heavy with silence. Tang Isa looked at me, his dark pupils filled with shock. After a long pause, his eyes dimmed and he struggled to utter a few words, but I turned my head away, cutting off what he was about to say. "So you need to cooperate with the doctor's examinations. I don't want to be a widow in the future." After my outburst, I remembered what I had blurted out, and my cheeks began to burn. I didn't dare to look at Tang Isa, taking advantage of the nurse coming in to check on him. I found an excuse to slip out of the room. It seems my words had an effect, as after that day, the doctor no longer reported his refusal to cooperate with treatment. The doctor found it amusing, sometimes teasing Tang Isa. We advised him for so long to no avail. It had to be his wife's words that did the trick. My eyes shyly flickered as I met Tang Isa's gaze, my cheeks heating up again. 10. The hospital stay wasn't long. He was able to go home for recovery after just 3 or 4 days. Though it was supposed to be a recovery period, he didn't relax for a moment upon returning, heading straight to the office to deal with the backlog of work, and even when he was home, he buried himself in his study. Remembering the doctor's advice, I barged into his study to drag him out, but upon entering, I saw him frantically trying to cover something on his desk, a brown notebook, hidden under some documents. I remembered it was his diary. I secretly chuckled to myself, pretending not to recognize the diary, but something else caught my eye. "What's this?" I picked up a piece of paper, and my breath hitched upon seeing its contents. It was boldly marked, "Will certification." "Tang Isa, it's just a precaution, don't overthink it." Me, a precaution? You must have thought this will through well in advance, right? Memories from a long time ago surfaced, recalling when I received his prepared will at a funeral. Back then, I didn't understand why he would leave all his assets to someone who was merely a contractual spouse. With these assets, even if Tangisa paused, you can live more comfortably. His figure blurred through my tears. Don't you understand what I mean? I stepped forward, tiptoed, and kissed his tender lips. A breeze lifted the curtain on the windowsill, and the stunning roses bloomed under the moonlight. Tangisa's body stiffened suddenly, his Adam's apple bobbing with difficulty. But I don't have much time left. My voice choked with a plea. The doctor said your stomach cancer is still in the early stages. There's still a chance for a cure, so, for me, please don't give up. Tangisa bent down, his strong arms embracing me tightly, providing warmth and comfort. 11. After Tangisa was discharged and returned home, our housekeeper would occasionally remind me, suggesting that the master should move back to the main bedroom to sleep. Sir always forgets the time when he's working, and if he stays up late working in the guest room, who will look after him? Sir is not in good health. What if something happens in the guest room and no one knows about it? What do we do then? I sneakily looked at Tangisa for help, but he didn't speak up for me and just watched me with a smile in his eyes. I had no choice but to nod in agreement, feeling embarrassed. Tangisa's daily necessities weren't many, so moving them to the master bedroom didn't take up much space. However, when I saw that the bathroom now had 2 towels, and a new toothbrush and mouthwash cup next to mine, I felt the atmosphere become more intimate. Moving things around messed up the bedroom, so I took the opportunity to do a thorough cleaning, pulling Tangisa here and there, disposing of unwanted items into the trash. During this, I found an album in the bedside drawer. It seemed to be Tangisa's childhood album, with photos from his childhood well preserved. However, the album only covered up to middle school. The days after that were no longer recorded. Curious, I started looking through the album. So, you started having a stern face since you were a kid, I teased, pointing at a photo of him at 4 or 5 years old. Tangisa smiled helplessly. As I continued flipping through, I suddenly found a photo of a girl. Isn't this me in middle school? I don't remember ever taking this photo. Where did you get this from? I recognized the girl in the photo instantly. By then, it was too late for Tangisa to hide anything. Seeing my determined look, as if I was ready to get to the bottom of it, he had no choice but to confess. Actually, I've known you since middle school. Tangisa came from a poor family, but fortunately, he was always top of his class, and he often participated in competitions for various scholarships. In middle school, he represented his school in the national mathematics competition. That day, his parents personally took him to the venue, excitedly capturing his growth with their camera. After taking photos of their son, they wanted photos of themselves. Tangisa took the camera, reluctantly taking pictures of his parents showing affection. A breeze shifted the camera's angle. Just like that, the scene of me playing with my friends entered his lens, and as Tangisa said, also his heart. His finger trembled, and he captured me in the photo. Later, he learned my name and some information about me from other classmates and kept tabs on me intermittently for over a decade, until he thought he would never cross paths with me in his life. And then he met me at a banquet. After hearing his confession, I playfully poked his waist. So someone has had a crush on me for so long, huh? Tangisa chuckled softly, pulling me into his embrace. Yes, for a very, very long time. His laughter spread by my ear. Fortunately, in the end, I won the beauty's heart. Our lips met warmly, and I clung to his shoulders, my eyes gradually becoming misty. The atmosphere in the room grew more romantic yet halted just at the edge of danger. A few days later, after discussions by the attending physicians, Tangisa's surgery was scheduled. He lay on the hospital bed in his blue and white hospital clothes, looking at me helplessly. He reached out to wipe the tears from the corner of my eye, chuckling. "Why are you crying again?" It wasn't the first time I had seen him on a hospital bed, but as I followed him to the operating room, I still felt uneasy. I held his hand and urged, "You have to come out quickly, don't make me wait too long outside." His laughter was gentle. "That's not up to me, I don't care." I bit my lip, wanting to say more, but a nurse interrupted me. "It's time, the patient needs to go in for surgery now." I had to swallow my words. "Don't just wait foolishly outside. If you get hungry, remember to eat, okay?" Tangisa sat up, suddenly pulling me into his embrace, his deep, soothing breath falling on my ear. "I love you, me." Before I could recover from his words, the nurse had already wheeled Tangisa into the operating room. The heavy door closed, and his figure disappeared from my sight. I stood there stunned, his sweet yet worrisome words still swirling in my mind. A week after the surgery, Tangiza and I visited my parents' home. My parents were very cheerful, treating Tangiza even better than they treated me, their own daughter. Mom, why do you keep serving him dishes and not me? I complained about her unfairness, which earned me an eye roll from my mother. You have hands, don't you? Isa is still recovering. What's wrong with taking extra care of him? Although my family wasn't wealthy, my parents had their connections. The surgeon who operated on Tangiza was found through my father's efforts. The surgery went very smoothly. This visit home was also to thank my parents for their help. Fine, since he is still a patient, I'll let it go. I conceded and served myself some dishes. After lunch, my parents eagerly chatted with Tangiza, overwhelming him to the point that he kept giving me desperate looks for help. I shrugged my shoulders, somewhat delighting in his predicament. Soon, I faced my retribution. Ning, your cousin got married later than you and already has a child. When do you plan to have one? My mother asked with a smile. Instinctively, I looked at Tangiza, meeting his amused gaze, and felt my cheeks burning hot. Let's talk about that later. Fearful of further questions from my mother, I blushed and pulled Tangiza away to my room. He was about to speak, but I covered his lips with my hand. Don't say a word. I glared at him. A smile flickered in his deep eyes as he nodded. Okay. The room fell silent. He hadn't said a word, yet my face felt unbearably hot. Tangiza's attention was drawn to a photo album on the desk. With my nod of approval, he began to flip through it. The album was filled with memories of growing up, similar to his. But unlike his, which stopped after middle school, mine continued up to our wedding a few months ago. I stepped forward, holding his large hand. Let's record the rest of our days together. From black hair to white hair. Tangiza hugged me tightly, whispering in response, okay, I haven't yet responded to what you said at the hospital. What did I say? Blushing, I whispered in his ear, I love you too, extra. Although Tangiza came from a poor family, his parents loved each other, and the family was harmonious, so life didn't feel too hard. However, his peaceful life was shattered after middle school when his parents died in a car accident, leaving him without his closest kin. Since he was underage, the compensation and inheritance were managed by his uncle, and he lived with his uncle's family, but his aunt hardly cared for him, burdening him with endless chores and sometimes even hitting him when his uncle was not around. At night, when the pain kept him awake, he would take out photos of his parents to remember them, and a photo of a girl he had accidentally taken, hidden under his pillow. Later in high school, he saw that girl's photo again in a newspaper's awards section and learned her name, Su Xiaoning. It sounded nice. Afterward, her name would occasionally reach his ears unintentionally. Su Xiaoning from the school next door is so beautiful. I want to pursue her. Forget it. With your look, why would she ever notice you? She comes from a wealthy family, and you have nothing to offer. What makes you think you can pursue her? Tangiza pursed his lips and dedicated himself even more to his studies. He studied relentlessly, and after graduating from university, he threw himself into starting a business and earning money. A casual remark from his classmates had seemingly become the goal that drove him. He thought, once he made a fortune, he would confess his feelings to her, but life is full of unexpected turns. During a routine checkup, the doctor diagnosed him with stomach cancer. The doctor said that early treatment might cure it. There might be a chance, or there might not be. Everything was uncertain, with no guaranteed future. He had to remove confessing his feelings from his list of plans. A month later, he received an invitation to a banquet. He didn't want to attend, but upon learning that the Su family would also be there, he wavered. Perhaps just seeing her from a distance wouldn't be so bad. But when he saw her, his greed became uncontrollable. So when she expressed her irritation about her family pressuring her to marry, he lied. He said he felt the same pressure. Tangiza never dreamed that one day he would marry her. He told himself not to be any greedier, otherwise, what would she do if one day he was gone? He left all his assets to her, keeping his distance. But why did she start getting closer to him from a certain day? Could he dare to hope that she might like him too? Finally, his hopes were answered. She said to him, I love you too, and he wanted to say, as long as you're willing, I will love you forever. Story 2. In the 5th year of my marriage to Gu Qing, the affair he had with a girl he kept in a hotel was exposed, and everyone knew about it. To prevent her from being labeled as the other woman, Gu Qing brought me the divorce papers and said, Teacher Jian helped me in the past, and on his deathbed, he asked me to take care of Jian Shi. Now that this has come to light, I cannot ignore it. Over the years, Jian Shi was always Gu Qing's first choice. In my past life, when I heard this, I broke down completely, made a huge scene, and refused to divorce. It wasn't until I was diagnosed with severe depression that Guqing, influenced by Jianshi's words that I didn't seem sick, concluded I was faking it. Believing I was trying to manipulate him and setting a trap to accuse me of infidelity, he filed for divorce directly. That's when I realized I could never compete with someone he felt indebted to, and, in despair, I took my own life. When I opened my eyes again, I signed the divorce papers without hesitation. Chu Tang, after this matter is settled, can we remarry? I was sitting absent-mindedly on a stone bench in the courtyard of the villa when Guhan, accompanied by Jianxi, approached me. Just 3 hours earlier, Jianxi had been exposed by paparazzi as potentially being Guhan's lover. The entire internet was digging into her past, cursing her as the homewrecker who intruded into my sweet relationship with Guhan. Guhan's loving husband persona had completely collapsed, and the stock prices of Gu Corporation began to fluctuate. In my past life, when Guhan brought the divorce papers to me, I was so furious that I tore out all the roses he had planted for me in the yard and hysterically questioned him about his relationship with Jianxi. He was merely the daughter of a mentor, and there were a million other ways he could have handled the situation, but he chose to sacrifice me, just to prevent Jianxi's depression from worsening. What Guhan didn't know was that during the time this scandal was brewing, I too was diagnosed with moderate depression. Chu Tang, Guhan called me again, bringing me back to the present. I looked down, my gaze falling on the divorce papers on the stone table. He knelt on one knee at my feet, his deep eyes looking up at me, his warm palms enveloping my hands. His tone was coaxing. Chu Tang, do it for me, okay? We'll announce to the public that our marriage has been in name only for over a year now, and we've been planning to divorce but just hadn't found the right moment. I didn't respond immediately. Behind him, Jianxi, in a white dress and wearing Guhan's jacket over her shoulders, had pale lips and red-rimmed eyes. Chu Tang, please help me, she pleaded. My mother committed suicide due to depression caused by cyberbullying. I don't want to follow in her footsteps. Sister, I'm kneeling to you, please help me. As she was about to kneel, Guhan quickly stood up and helped her, then protectively pulled her into his arms. With a grim expression, he whispered sternly, "What are you doing?" Jianxi choked up, her voice frail and tearful, then lowered her tear-filled eyes. I just wanted to make it easier for you, sister." Guhan's brows furrowed with impatience as he looked at me, the affection in his eyes completely fading. Chu Tang, I'm not here to discuss this with you. I've already decided on this matter, and if you're unwilling to divorce, then don't blame me. I calmly met his gaze, and his next words stopped short, but I knew what he was going to say. He was about to say, "Chu Tang, you know what I'm capable of. I have a million ways to make you sign willingly." He was about to escalate to filing for divorce. "You can't possibly win against the Gu family's lawyers." Those were his exact words in my past life, and later I was set up to be caught in bed with several male models, solidifying evidence of my infidelity. Overnight, I became branded as an adulterous woman, enduring all the public scorn, and he, along with Jianxi, emerged as the innocent victims. "I'll sign. But you have to agree to one thing," I said after a long pause. Guhan looked up at me, nodded in agreement, and handed me a pen. I took it and signed my name on the divorce papers without any hint of emotion. "Aren't you going to look at the agreement?" Guhan asked, frowning. I smiled. No need. He was practically left with nothing, giving me all his property, all for Jianxi, to repay a debt of gratitude. "Let's make time to visit the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow." "Okay," I said. Guhan's hand paused slightly as he held the divorce papers, his eyes looking lost for a moment. But ultimately, he said nothing. As they left, Jianxi turned back to give me a mocking look, her thin lips silently mouthing, "You lost." And I did lose. I lost a lifetime, so now I didn't want to lose anymore. A short while later, my phone lit up with a message from Guhan. "Today was hard on you, Chu Tang. I'm sorry. After this is over, I will give you a grand wedding ceremony, and we'll remarry. I can't just watch Jianxi's depression worsen, you understand, right?" Reading his message, I couldn't help but laugh, tears in my eyes. It was the same in my past life. Guhan, in an effort to force me into divorce, conspired with his friends while drunk, but he forgot that his friends were also my friends. Jiang Yuan earnestly advised Guhan not to sacrifice his own marriage for Jianxi, and yet, he also mediated with me, trying to make me sympathize with Guhan, describing him as a man of great loyalty. Back then, it was Jianxi's father who saw potential in Guhan, investing in him and helping him start his business. Without that, Gu-han wouldn't be where he was today. At that time, crying, I argued, Gu-han could clarify this matter in 1,000 different ways, so why must it lead to divorce? Jiang Yuan fell silent. He had asked Gu-han, who had said, I have to disappoint someone. I can only let Chu Tang suffer because she loves me and can understand me, because I loved him. I had to be the one to sacrifice. What kind of reasoning was that? Fortunately, I still had a chance. Whenever it came to anything about Jianxi, Gu-han always handled it particularly quickly. He had just signed the divorce papers with me by day, and by night, he had arranged a press conference, having his assistant invite me to attend to clarify things. I hadn't even spoken yet, thinking I would refuse. His assistant luckily relayed Gu-han's message to me. Miss Chu Tang, you should attend this press conference, if not for Mr. Gu, then for your own reputation, he said. I paused for a second, then let out a scoff. Gu-han was threatening me. He was trying to use the same tactics from my past life to force me into a corner, to tarnish my reputation and leave me struggling under public scrutiny. In the end, I would have no choice but to bow and yield. I had never quite understood why. Does Gu-han really see me as his wife, or as his enemy? Now he wants to publicly clarify our relationship. I am no exception. The press conference was arranged in the most luxurious hotel lobby in northern Beijing, and the invitees were the most influential journalists in the industry. When Jianxi, dressed in a cheongsam, appeared arm in arm with Gu-han, the reporters swarmed them instantly. Gu-han instinctively protected Jianxi behind him, smiling as he blocked the microphones for her. Please wait, I will answer all your questions one by one. Can you please make some room now? His voice was gentle. And as he looked up, he caught sight of me, also surrounded by reporters. When our eyes met, I faintly hoped that Gu-han would extricate me as well, but the next second, he casually shifted his gaze away, smiling as he led Jianxi to the stage, as if he had never seen me. I smirked sarcastically. The reporter nearest to me, likely an intern, timidly handed me the microphone, asking, Miss Chu Tang, did you really divorce Mr. Gu? Yes, I replied with a smile and a nod. The intern adjusted his glasses. But you and Mr. Gu met in high school, dated for 7 years, and were married for 5 years. Last month, Mr. Gu even spent a fortune to buy you an island named after you. I continued to smile, though my eyes did not reflect the same cheerfulness. That was what he owed me, for missing my birthday to take care of the sick Jianxi. It was a make-up gift. In my past life, I took pride in this gesture, only to later discover that it was Jiang Yuan's idea. The island was picked by Gu-han's assistant, and he didn't even know where the island was. Do you still love Mr. Gu now? She looked at me nervously, and the surrounding reporters quieted down. Even Gu-han on stage was looking at me. He slightly furrowed his brow. I merely glanced at him calmly and said with a smile, not anymore. The interview didn't last until the end. After Gu-han clarified that our marriage had been in name only a year ago, I left the scene. Overnight, I became Gu-han's unwanted second-hand goods, and Jianxi became the only innocent victim in this public controversy. The interview topped social media for several days, with the topic remaining hot, especially the words spoken by Gu-han. Chu Tang and I had planned to divorce a year ago, but the timing wasn't right. We intended to handle it quietly, but now it has affected an innocent person, so we had no choice but to clarify publicly. Miss Jianxi is not the homewrecker of our relationship. She is the only concern of my teacher in this world. It's only right for me to take care of her, and I hope everyone can view this matter rationally. Some fans were led to believe that the reason for the rupture of my relationship with Gu-han was that I could not tolerate a pure sibling-like bond. And I misinterpreted their so-called kindness. They also said I was petty, not magnanimous enough. Despite 5 years of marriage, I hadn't learned a bit of Gu-han's loyalty and righteousness. The topic fermented for several days. I became the target of public criticism. After collecting the divorce certificate from the Civil Affairs Bureau, Gu-han stopped me. Don't take to heart what's said online. It won't be long before everyone forgets. I stopped in my tracks, unable to help but let out a light laugh. 5, 6, 7. I see you. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Being similarly insulted on social media. Why is the difference so stark? Chu Tang, it's almost New Year in 2 months. How about we remarry at the beginning of next year? He looked at me, about to approach, but I stepped back. My expression indifferent as my gaze shifted to the reporters blocked by the bodyguards not far away. Guhan seemed to realize something was amiss and stopped where he was. Guhan, I'm going back to Harbor City. You haven't been back in a long time. It's good to go back. I'll come to pick you up for the new year. I'm not coming back, I said calmly, cutting off Guhan. His smile froze, confusion flickering in his eyes. I continued, when I agreed to sign the divorce papers, you promised me something. It's time to fulfill it. Guhan stared at me blankly. When I was reborn, it took me only a few seconds to reconcile the love and hatred I felt for Guhan. The moment I saw the divorce papers, I thought about tearing them up and causing a scene, but in the end, reason prevailed. After a while, I smiled slightly. Guhan, I hope you never appear in front of me again. After Chu Tang finished speaking with a smile and retreated into the crowd, Guhan was slow to react. For a moment, he felt an inexplicable panic, as if he was about to lose something very important. Just like the day Chu Tang calmly signed the divorce papers, feeling a vague unease, she didn't make a fuss. It seemed she had foreseen all the outcomes. Just recently, Chu Tang had made a huge fuss because he forgot her birthday, and he even got slapped by her. He thought it was a sham divorce. Chu Tang would go crazy and cause a scene. He was even prepared for it, but she didn't. Picking up the pen, her expression was as still as dead water. At that moment, he thought about stopping Chu Tang, but in the end, he did nothing. He thought it didn't matter. Chu Tang loved him. It was just a fake divorce, and he would make it up to her later. But it wasn't the same with Jianxi. She couldn't suffer any harm. If it weren't for Jianxi's father recognizing his talent, risking being ousted by the shareholders to invest in his project, and helping him grow into one of the emerging elite in Jingbei, he wouldn't have achieved today's successes, nor would he be worthy of Jianxi. On Jianxi's father's deathbed, he hoped Guhan would ensure Jianxi's life was safe and well. He didn't want to be a treacherous villain. Jiang Yuan once asked him, if one day, Jianxi and Chu Tang both fell into a cliff, who would you save? He laughed then, thinking the question was absurd. He would save Jianxi, but he would die with Chu Tang. Jiang Yuan laughed with him, but then he asked himself, what if Chu Tang doesn't want to die? Guhan, you can't just because Chu Tang likes you, always take her for granted. If she can't feel your love, she will also despair. That day he dismissed it. He never took those words to heart. Unexpectedly, in the end, they came true. In the night, Guhan returned to the villa once again. Since marrying him, Chu Tang had always lived in the villa on the mid-mountain. She was an outstanding painter, crowned a prodigious young artist at the age of 10 for her transcendent landscape painting, and everyone felt her mastery in traditional Chinese painting was extraordinary, destined to excel in this field, which indeed she did. Only after marriage, Chu Tang's style of painting had changed, no longer as before. Chu Tang's teacher had tried to guide her with dedication, but the impact was minimal. Eventually, Chu Tang gave up painting and even resisted picking up a paintbrush. Guhan entered Chu Tang's studio. He paused for a moment when he saw the landscape painting on the easel. The painting was vivid, though rendered in just a few strokes. When Chen's mother saw the light on in the studio and noticed Guhan, she was slightly surprised and greeted him. Sir. Guhan looked up. When did my wife paint this? Chen's mother responded, the day you came back with Miss Jian. Guhan nodded, his lips curving into a smile that he couldn't bring himself to complete. After leaving the studio, he returned to the room he shared with Chu Tang, reminding himself repeatedly that their divorce was only a pretense. Once the storm passed, he planned to propose to Chu Tang again and give her a grand wedding, but somehow, his heart still felt empty. He dismissed everything Chu Tang had said in anger today as mere nonsense. Their home was in Beijing North. How could she not return? Knock, knock. The door to the master bedroom suddenly sounded. Guhan, sitting at the foot of the bed, looked up to see Jianxi. She stood at the doorway in her thin clothes, her face slightly flushed, quietly watching Guhan. Why are you here? Jianxi pursed her lips. I was scared staying alone in the hotel, so I came to find you. Is that so? She spoke, eyes downcast. I hope I'm not disturbing you. Guhan frowned slightly but replied, it's okay, it's getting late. I'll ask Chen's mother to prepare a guest room for you to stay in, he said as he was about to call for her. Jianxi stepped forward into the room, her eyes soft and pleading as she looked at Guhan. Brother Han, I don't want to stay in the guest room, is that okay? She asked softly. Guhan's frown deepened. He was about to refuse, but seeing her reddened eyes, he softened. When my plane landed in the city, it was Sun Chu who came to pick me up, years ago, at 18. He saved a girl but was falsely accused of assault and sentenced to 3 years, with a criminal record. No company was willing to hire him. I met him at an art exhibition. He never interacted with others, always keeping his gaze down. If people approached him, he would just shy away. One night, as I was heading home, I encountered some thugs and was nearly assaulted, but he happened to pass by. I thought he would just watch indifferently, but he didn't hesitate for a moment. That day I asked him, "What if I turned on you too?" He just gave a bitter smile. Then I'd accept it. With my family's influence, I helped clear his name, and on the day the truth was revealed, he stood at a distance, eyes red, bowing in thanks as he looked at me. 3 years in prison hadn't eroded his kindness. My father, grateful for his act of saving me, extended an olive branch and arranged for him to join the company. Starting from the bottom, he is now one of my father's most trusted aides. "Miss, it's been a long time," Sinchu said, wearing a trench coat as he took my suitcase. I nodded, feeling a strange tinge of sourness at the tip of my nose. 5 years ago, I married Guhan and moved north with him. At the time of my accident, he was sent by my father to Country A for a close training session. I never saw Sinchu again until my death. "Miss, are you planning to leave again after this return?" he asked me. I replied, "No, I'm not leaving." Sinchu chuckled. "Mr. Chu knows you're back and he's very happy about it." Suddenly, I felt a momentary shock. My hand tightened in my pocket, and a tinge of bitterness colored my heart. By then, my divorce with Guhan had become public knowledge. Worried that I would be wronged, my father flew from the port city to Jingbei overnight. He tried to persuade me earnestly. Guhan never really thinks things through. He chose to collaborate with the old man from the Jian family instead of accepting your help. To put it nicely, he didn't want to rely on you. But isn't he still relying on someone by taking the Jian family's investment? Xiao Tang, it's over, and Guhan isn't right for you. He wanted to take me back to the port city, but I refused, crying and insisting on staying. Through tears, I said, "I love Guhan, I don't want a divorce. Why should I sacrifice myself for his gratitude, even if it kills me? I absolutely won't leave. I'm not going anywhere." Eventually, my father was so upset by my stubbornness that he suffered a heart attack and was rushed to the ICU, receiving several critical condition notices. Overnight, my mother's hair turned white. When my father woke up, he said nothing, but I knew he was disappointed in me. As my mother was leaving, she still tried to persuade me, "Your father has never interfered with any of your decisions over the years, but Guhan is not a good man." At that time, I wouldn't listen to anything and stubbornly continued on my destructive path. It cost me dearly to finally understand. I wasn't that important to Guhan. "Are they all doing well?" I asked Sinchu. Sinchu nodded. "The group is developing very well. Mr. Chu and his wife are also very healthy." I smiled and met his cold gaze. "Thank you, Sinchu. Thank you for fulfilling my filial duties on my behalf." Sinchu shook his head. He said it was his duty. If it hadn't been for my father and I helping him out back then, he might have died in some forgotten corner long ago. On social media, hot topics continue to emerge relentlessly, from Jianxi being Guhan's mistress. It has now turned into accusations of me being heartless and ungrateful. Yesterday, paparazzi caught a photo of me and Sinchu at the airport. Now they are saying that I had an affair long ago, which is why my relationship with Guhan fell apart. I couldn't help but laugh when I saw. As I lowered my eyes, the phone screen showed a photo sent by Jianxi from a burner account, a photo of her spending the night at the mountain villa. "Last night Guhan asked me to stay over. What do you think he'll do tonight?" Guhan is a very responsible person. Now that the shackles are gone, Xiao Tang, your husband is mine now. She tried to provoke me, but my heart was already still. Sinchu poured me a cup of tea and glanced worriedly at my phone screen, saying in a deep voice, "Miss, I will reclaim the justice for the grievances you've suffered." I didn't respond to him, but instead asked, "I heard your father introduced several distinguished young ladies to you, intending for you to settle down. Why did you refuse?" Sinchu seemed surprised by my question. His eyes lowered, his fingertips rubbing the rim of the teacup. After a long silence, I asked again, "Is it because of me?" He suddenly looked up, meeting my gaze before guiltily looking away. Though I hadn't seen Sinchu in 5 years, every birthday, I received a generous gift from him. He lavished money freely, and from time to time, he transferred money into my account. He gave me almost everything he earned. I refused many times, but he persisted. Finally, I called him and for the first time, I lost my temper with him. I said, "Sinchu, you saved me once, and I helped you once, we're even." It was your father who let you into the company. But you've gotten to where you are today on your own, you don't owe me anything, I'm not your creditor, and by doing this, you're only endangering my marriage and causing Guhan to misunderstand our relationship. After that, Sinchu stopped transferring money to me. His gifts were also just symbolic gestures. Sinchu, I've told you that you don't owe me anything. No sooner had I finished speaking than Sinchu pursed his lips and said, no. What? He looked at me. A slight smile playing on his lips, his face calm, his eyes filled with affection. I adore you, miss, I know I'm worlds apart from you, miss, I've never dared to hope that you would look back at me, but my heart belongs to you, and I don't want to lie to myself or hold anyone else back. As Sinchu's voice trailed off, I looked at him quietly. He was the same age as me, but much more mature. When I first saw him, he was timid and out of place. Now, he has become a pillar of the company, the most valued person by my father. Last night, when I returned to the old mansion, my father talked with me for a long time about the future of the company, my future. Finally, he asked me 2 questions. The first was, do you still like Guhan? I shook my head, giving a negative answer, but to the second question, I remained silent. He asked me, would you be willing to marry Sinchu? My father is planning to retire. And although Sinchu has been with my father for many years, he is not originally from our family. I was somewhat confused. I've never dared to hope that you would look back at me, but my heart belongs to you, and I don't want to lie to myself or hold anyone else back. As Sinchu's voice trailed off, I looked at him quietly. He was the same age as me, but much more mature. When I first saw him, he was timid and out of place. Now, he has become a pillar of the company, the most valued person by my father. Last night, when I returned to the old mansion, my father talked with me for a long time about the future of the company, my future. Finally, he asked me 2 questions. The first was, do you still like Guhan? I shook my head, giving a negative answer, but to the second question, I remained silent. He asked me, would you be willing to marry Sinchu? My father is planning to retire. And although Sinchu has been with my father for many years, he is not originally from our family. I was somewhat confused at first, but now I also have an answer. Sinchu, will you marry me? 2 days later, in northern Beijing, Guhan sat in the studio, looking down at the day when Chu Tang accepted that intern's interview. Curiously, the intern asked her, do you still love Mr. Gu? Chu Tang smiled and responded, not anymore. Those simple 3 words, however, stirred an inexplicable oppression in him. He replayed that clip countless times, trying to find something in Chu Tang's eyes, but to no avail. Frustrated, he pulled up his chat with Chu Tang, only to realize that the last message stopped when he reminded her to pick up the divorce certificate at the civil affairs office at 9 o'clock, to which she replied with a simple okay, and then there was nothing. Chu Tang used to stick to him, sharing everything with him big or small, and he would respond in time. He scrolled back through the records. Later, many times, it was just Chu Tang talking to herself. Occasionally, he would reply briefly with an okay or I know. Work at the company was busy. After teacher Jian passed away, Jianxi suffered from depression and repeatedly attempted suicide. He simply couldn't manage everything. Suddenly, Jiang Yuan sent a message. Chu Tang is getting married to Sinchu. Guhan stood up abruptly, accidentally knocking over a nearby easel. As he hurried to pick it up, a medical report was pressed under the drawing board. He paused for a second, and when he read all the content, his fingertips trembled. The patient exhibits severe emotional fluctuations, with recurring suicidal thoughts. He was suffering from severe sleep disorders, and upon evaluation, it was determined that he had tendencies of moderate depression. That marked the date when he proposed a fake divorce to Chu Tang. Brother Han, what happened? Jianxi, hearing the commotion, hurried from the master bedroom to the studio. When she saw the medical report in Guhan's hands, a scheming glint passed through her eyes. Can I take a look at this report? Jianxi asked softly. Guhan didn't say anything, only feeling a recurring pain in his chest. She took the opportunity to grab the medical report, flipped through a few pages, then feigned relief, patting Guhan on the shoulder and comforting him. Brother Han, don't worry, brother. Have you forgotten? I also suffer from depression. You've seen what it's like when I have an episode. I saw your sister the other day. She looked so healthy, not at all like she was ill. Maybe she was just too angry and used a fake medical report to deceive you. Jianxi looked at Guhan, just as she was about to continue. Guhan, pressing down his emotions, took the report back from her hands. He had just walked a few steps when something occurred to him. and he turned back to her. After tomorrow, you shouldn't stay in the master bedroom. Chu Tang will make a fuss if she finds out. After he spoke, Jianxi stood frozen in place. By the time she reacted and chased after him, Brother Han, Gu Han had already gone downstairs. In such a hurry he even forgot his coat. Regardless of whether the medical report was real or fake, regardless of whether Chu Tang was going to marry Sun Chu, at that moment, his only thought was to see Chu Tang and bring her back home. Sun Chu took our wedding very seriously, personally overseeing every detail. By day he would rush between the company and the wedding venue. By night, he sat in the living room, painstakingly writing invitations. Sun Chu, you should let the assistant handle these matters. You're already so busy with work. There's no need to go to all this trouble, I said, holding a cup at the top of the stairs, looking down at him in the living room. He put down his pen, smiled warmly at me, and said, no matter what, I want to give the best to the lady. I know I might not be in the lady's heart, but she is at the very top of mine. The moment our eyes met, I was momentarily dazed. My heart stirred for the first time in a long while. Lady, don't feel burdened, just be the beautiful bride. Sun Chu continued to smile, his gaze not hiding his feelings any longer. Finally, I smiled back and nodded. What I hadn't anticipated was that Gu Han would find his way to Harbor City, just as Sun Chu and I were coming out after trying on the wedding attire. I saw Gu Han standing under an opposite camphor tree. He was dressed in a simple white shirt, his hair disheveled, his face slightly pale, devoid of any sparkle in his eyes. His gaze lingered on Sun Chu's and my intertwined hands for a moment before shifting away. Gu Han forced a smile and looked at me. Chu Tang, I've come to take you back home. Let's not wait until next year. How about we go back now and remarry? As he spoke, he took a few steps towards us. Sun Chu instinctively moved to shield me, but I stopped him. I straightened his slightly crooked tie and said softly, go wait for me in the car. I'll be back soon. Mom made your favorite dish tonight. Let's go home together later. Sun Chu looked down at me, a slight smile on his lips, and replied, okay. He then glanced briefly at Gu Han before walking towards the direction of the garage. At that moment, it was just Gu Han and me left by the roadside. He subconsciously moved closer to me, but I discreetly stepped back a few paces and softly said, Mr. Gu, let's keep some distance between us, otherwise the paparazzi might catch us. Then there will be rumors on social media about me endlessly entangling with my ex-husband. No matter when, people always seem to be particularly harsh on women. The incident with Jianxi is a prime example. It was clear that Gu Han was the indecisive one from start to finish, yet in the end, I was blamed for not being magnanimous enough. Chu Tang, Gu Han's eyes dimmed, a bitter smile not reaching his eyes. I've already had my assistant handle the situation on the platform. I'm sorry you had to suffer. I didn't know you were facing so much trouble. I didn't know, Gu Han. You knew. I looked at him and spoke in a flat tone. If he hadn't known that public opinion could be so painful and depressing, he wouldn't have chosen to divorce me to help Jianxi. In my past life, I was framed for having affairs with several male models, and after being divorced from Gu Han, my reputation was ruined, and my career plummeted. Everyone mocked me, some even confronted me saying, Chu Tang, after being ruined by your ex-husband like this, how can you still have the face to live? If it were me, I would have jumped from the 18th floor, and Mrs. Gu Han never really cared about her, otherwise how could he have driven her to death? Later, I suffered from insomnia night after night, sitting by the floor-to-ceiling windows watching the lights of thousands of homes. I burned down my studio. Everything Gu Han gave me was also burned. As if by doing so I could carve him out of my heart, I vented all the injustice. I hated why the boy who once filled my heart and eyes would lead me to a dead end. Eventually, I committed suicide by wrist cutting. To this day, I still remember the feeling of blood slowly draining from my body. Gu Han opened his mouth to explain, but the words wouldn't come out. In the end, he could only lower his head helplessly. Tang, I will make it up to you. I couldn't help but laugh. I had heard that too many times before. After Jianxi's father passed away, on the night of Gu Han's engagement banquet, he left saying, Chu Tang, Jianxi has run into some trouble. I need to go see her. On the day of the wedding, Jianxi attempted suicide again, and after sending me back to the bridal room, he didn't return all night. At that time, I wavered whether to continue this relationship, but seeing Gu Han's exhausted appearance, I endured it. I loved Gu Han, so I was willing to accompany him through all the hardships. Every broken promise eventually turned into, Chu Tang, I will make it up to you properly in the future. Guhan always thought we had a lifetime ahead of us, but he forgot that love can be exhausted, in the last life. Until the end, I could no longer tell if I loved Guhan, or if it was just obsession. After a while, I said sarcastically, Guhan, actually what I wanted was very little, but you still couldn't care for me. I am also the treasure cherished by my parents. Why should I let you trample on me? So let's just forget it. As I finished speaking, I looked away and was about to leave when Guhan frantically grabbed my arm. His tall body nearly stumbled and fell, his pale thin lips parted. I don't agree. It can't just end like this. Chu-Tang, you are my wife, you can't leave me. His voice trembled at the end. I laughed, pulled out my hand. We are already divorced, Guhan. He was forced to step down from his position at the company. The divorce papers you forced me to sign, the threats to make me attend a press conference to clear things up, and the way you watched me go to the civil affairs office to get the divorce certificate, all of this was your doing. You can't deny that, right? Guhan was rendered speechless. I needed to leave. As he tried to follow me again, I nodded slightly towards the direction behind him. Mr. Gu, actually, you and Miss Jian are quite a match. Guhan's face turned pale instantly. He arrived in Harbor City in the early morning. After his assistant found Chu-Tang's itinerary, he came to find her without resting for a moment. However, when he saw her in a wedding dress, laughing and playing with Sun Chu, he gradually slowed down his steps and just stood there under the camphor tree, watching. He couldn't remember when he last saw Chu-Tang laugh so freely. Every time they met, they would end up arguing because of Jianxi, and gradually, he stopped going home often, either staying overnight at the company or drinking with Jiang Yuan and others all night long. So, at that moment, he was painfully aware, the words Chu-Tang said at the civil affairs office that day, came from her heart. She didn't want him anymore, but he couldn't live without her. He stood outside the bridal shop for as long as the two were busy inside. He even thought about rushing in to beat Sun Chu up, warning him, don't covet my wife, but in the end, he couldn't take that step. He was afraid Jianxi would hate him. Brother Han, sister has been gone for a long time. Jianxi tugged at Guhan's sleeve, bringing him back from his reverie. He looked down at her, his voice hoarse. Why are you here? I heard sister is going to marry someone else. I was worried you'd be upset, so I came to see you, she said softly, just about to embrace Guhan when he furrowed his brows and placed his hand on Jianxi's shoulder. In a moment, her eyes became moist. Brother Han, sister doesn't want you. But I do. Let's get married, shall we? Guhan had never refused her any request before. She had thought that after Chu-Tang divorced him, she could easily take the place of Mrs. Gu, but at that moment, Guhan's expression suddenly turned cold. Jianxi, do you know what you're saying? I know, Guhan, I like you. It was the first time she openly expressed her feelings. Guhan, however, gave a pained smile, and as he smiled, tears began to flow. Jiang Yuan had warned him countless times. Jianxi's gaze towards you is unsettling. If you don't want your marriage to be destroyed, it's better to send her away. Guhan, you are blinded by this situation, unable to see Jianxi's true intentions. Send Jianxi away, don't let her ruin your marriage. Yet he never believed it. He really deserved it. Jianxi, in an unexpected turn, directed and performed a scandalous act. She hired people to take photos of her and Guhan entering and exiting a hotel together and then bought cyber troops to spread rumors about herself being the other woman. Social media erupted into chaos. Guhan was overwhelmed with stress. He had planned to send Jianxi abroad, but upon seeing the trending topic, he nearly strangled her on the roadside. He confronted her, demanding, why would you do this? Initially, Jianxi tried to appeal to his emotions, but as she was being choked, struggling to breathe, she suddenly laughed maniacally and openly admitted, I just wanted to be Mrs. Gu and forced Chu-Tang and you to divorce. Guhan, if you truly loved Chu-Tang, I wouldn't have had a chance. Enraged, Guhan vomited blood and fainted on the spot. The incident was caught on video by passers-by and went viral online. Gu Corporation's stock plummeted, and Guhan, upon waking, was confused and was promptly ousted from his CEO position. As for Jianxi, now disgraced, she had no choice but to leave the country. Unfortunately, on her way to the airport, she died in a car accident. On my wedding day, Sun Chu gave me a grand wedding, the city adorned with flowers and fireworks all night, known to everyone. When a guest joked that marrying Sun Chu was the blessing of my past life, Sun Chu scoffed and had the person removed from the wedding. He then boldly declared during the vows, I am the son-in-law of the Chu family. In this life, I belong to the Chu family. And in death, I will be the Chu family's ghost. Sun Chu knew I might not fully love him, but his treatment of me never wavered. On our wedding night, he held me tightly, as if afraid I would leave or disappear. Only after pressing him did I learn, Gu Han had committed suicide. Before dying, he had a lucid moment and sent a medical report left in his studio to Sun Chu. He also wrote me a long letter. Every word was filled with his remorse. He also spoke of a nightmare he had. In the dream, he forced me to divorce, and when I refused to compromise, he schemed to have me sent to other men's beds. Eventually, I desperately committed suicide by cutting my wrists. He said that in the dream, it wasn't intentional, he just wanted me to yield, never imagining it would drive me to despair and death. He didn't know that my illness was real. He said if he had known, he would never have treated me that way. Seeing the bathroom filled with blood, his heart broke, wishing he were the one who died. The letter ended with, "Fortunately, what happened in the dream didn't occur," and another line, "I'm sorry," I scoffed. I casually threw the letter and the medical report into the trash. Miss, Sun Chu frowned slightly. I softly said, "The old Chu Tang was sick, but I am no longer that Chu Tang, having left him. I also recovered from the illness, after a while." Sun Chu smiled helplessly yet affectionately. I looked at him and smiled too. Fortunately, in this life, I haven't lost anything.